AI is changing the way that we speak, and I want to show you how. We're going to gingerbread man a couple of wild ideas here today, and I actually had a whole intro for this video, but we're going to skip past that, and we're going to skip to the most important information on, this is page 3. Authenticity is going extinct. Your ability to be you is the most valuable skill that no one has, and it's about to become, over the next 3 years, a very rare trait in a person. And right now, the spirit, the heart, the mind is getting buried beneath 1,000 layers of AI filtering. And what we've noticed is that good communicators and high-profile people in the world are gravitating to more and more in-person communication. Why? Well, because real people know that you play the person and you play who someone is when they are detached from all the AI assistants, all the fancy ChatGPT replies, the Chrome extensions. And right now, so much of communication rests on the crutches of AI. And myself and my team, we've researched this heavily, and what we've come across are 3 problems that I foresee happening over the next 24 months that I think a lot of people are just blissfully unaware of. These are patterns of behavior in speech that are slowly eroding a person's ability to access their intelligence, access their heart, their emotions, and protect their memory. And so we're going to start with a really, really basic idea here. Last year, 2024, was when we began and we entered an era of doubt. The questioning of someone's authenticity became very widespread. Is this email from my coworker? Or is this AI? Is this a real video? How many of these comments are commissioned AI bots? Like, did my mom actually really send me this, or did she use ChatGPT? Is grandma really calling from jail right now? And so over this next year, we're going to go from difficult to tell to impossible to tell about what is authentic online. And this era of doubt that we're facing will lead to a split in communication. And the fork in the road looks like the following. Path number 1 is where people become represented by articulate, precise AI avatars. They're very effective in their niche domain. And path number 2 is a parallel world where classic, messy, face-to-face communication has a premium. It's more valuable. And a good term for this is communications caviar. It's the ability to be able to say what you want to say without, all the AI crutches, needing to filter something through 1,000 layers of ChatGPT. It's a very luxury skill. And learning to be an authentic communicator is, I think one of the most luxurious skills that you can learn to hedge yourself against the rise of AI. So, one of the things that we do at Nounce, my company, is we study the applications of AI to verbal communication. And we've done some pretty crazy things over the last few months, like record people's speech for a month with this device to identify all kinds of healthy or unhealthy thinking patterns that reflect in their speech. And if you're interested in learning to articulate yourself well as a business professional, as an entrepreneur, as a creator, as a coach, watch the video below this video. First link in the description. We're looking for 5 people to work with this month to use their communication to make more money and excel in their career. You can schedule a call below. So here's what we found with working with hundreds of clients. AI used in speech and writing is simultaneously the most incredible language toolkit we've ever seen, and also the greatest temptation humans have ever been provided to surrender their thinking and speaking to. And I call this the great resignation of creation, where we are abdicating a very fundamental part of what it means to be human. And that is, our generative capability, our ability to generate ideas and thoughts in the moment and be okay with sharing the rough versions of those ideas or those thoughts. And so what I want you to do is become aware of 3 ways, 3 dangers in which AI is luring people into a disconnection from their authentic self. And I want to provide you some tools and exercises that can help you in your journey to being a better communicator and a more authentic speaker who expresses you, not some artificial version of you. So the first danger is cognitive atrophy. What does that mean? Well, if you stop using a muscle like a bicep, what happens? Well, it withers. And this is what atrophy is. Your mind works the same way. Think about how you used to remember phone numbers, or navigate without Google Maps, or write without spell check. The problem is that relying on AI to think weakens your mental muscles. The mind has to be trained, and that training requires the mind coming into contact with like real substance, ideas that are difficult to think through, reading texts that have weight, or engaging in arguments that don't resolve themselves neatly. And so a pattern that I've noticed with a lot of, let's say, chronic ChatGPT users is a very sloppy kind of thinking, where people communicate in a word vomit. It's like, let me just get the idea out there and let ChatGPT do the cleanup and organizing. Remember that one of the things that we talk about often on this channel, and that I actually have an entire video on, is how to achieve clarity on a topic. And clarity is something that has to be earned. I talk about how clarity is earned in this video right here. So to actively exercise your mind, there are two things that I would recommend to combat this cognitive atrophy. And the first is, I'm a huge proponent of reading an article and then summarizing it in your own words without AI assistance. That's number one. Read it aloud. And the second one is, if you use AI for answers, ask questions that are encouraged to poke holes in the ideas that you're developing. The three questions that I use to develop good critical thinking skills are, number one is, what's driving the way that I see this? Number two is, what would this look like through someone else's eyes? And then three is, what truth may I be avoiding because it's uncomfortable? So learning to ask these kinds of questions is a really good hedge against this cognitive atrophy that is a rising trend. Let's talk about the second pattern, and this is AI sycophancy. And a sycophant is a flatterer. It's someone who tells you what you want to hear to get ahead. And you need to understand that AI, by its nature, is the ultimate sycophant. If you ask AI something like, how should I tell my mother that she should no longer be my mother? And it will suggest a tactful way of moving forward with that idea. Now you ask something like, is this a good idea for a business plan? And AI says, yes, that's a brilliant idea. Here are 5 ways to get started. Like, it feels great. And this is just a feature of AI's design. It's engineered to be an agreeable, helpful assistant. It's programmed to avoid confrontation and deliver a very smooth, positive experience. It's the ultimate yes man. Now, a real mentor would say something like, that's interesting. Now tell me 3 reasons why that's likely to fail. That gives a person perspective. AI sycophancy creates a very dangerous feedback loop of uncritical praise. It makes a person feel incredibly productive in conversation or in productivity when you're kind of just wandering through a hall of mirrors, like admiring your own reflection. It's like Narcissus, the handsome Greek prince who fell in love with his own reflection in a pool of water. So the problem is that AI is designed to be an agreeable flatterer, right? Tells you your questions are brilliant, makes you feel productive. And what's necessary is to become a master of asking hard questions. And most importantly, asking questions to yourself. In fact, one of the practices that we teach executives and CEOs is to ask rhetorical questions. When you study interviews of top performers, you start to notice that there are around 10 rhetorical questions that they ask that commonly come up. And you can download the list below. I have a list of these 10 rhetorical questions. Rhetorical questions, what they allow you to do is step outside the frame of information and reflect back on what you say. And elite communicators know how to do this in real time. The second way that you can combat AI sycophancy is what I call the devil advocate prompt, or the devil's advocate prompt. And this is where you can ask AI to aggressively argue against your idea and reveal the idea's 3 biggest flaws. There's a prompt for this that's below this video. Let's talk about danger number 3, memory envy, my personal favorite. I want you to imagine 2 worlds separated by a great void. There's a large chasm between the 2 sides. And on one side is the library of everything. It's every book, every article, it's the internet. It's all frozen in perfect lifeless recall. It's the AI's ability to retrieve any fact and figure. And then on the other side, you have the workbench. And this is AI's active memory. It's a lot smaller than the library, but it's still dwarfing what we can do as humans. It captures the context of your entire conversation, and it can retrieve every word with incredible recall and lightning precision. So what do we notice with AI? Well, we notice this very common theme of it being able to choose words quickly, seemingly the right words. And this has started to create a growing insecurity in people and in the clients that we work with. We start to become envious of AI's flawless data retrieval. And we begin to wish that our memory worked like a database. And I see a lot of people working towards creating a synthesis between humans and technology where we've acquired this ability to achieve the right words all the time. And I think by doing so, we fall into a void, and we lose what makes us valuable and what makes us human. People are beginning to undervalue their emotional and experiential foundation. And so the problem that we see here with this 3rd danger is that we start to believe that our messy, emotional, selective memory is a flaw. And this is a very dangerous trap. AI has a database. You have a living golden thread of experience, and elite communicators know how to draw upon that in the moment that can just outpace AI. I mean, like, there are techniques that I'm using in this very video to remember and recall what I need to keep myself in the flow. And that's a skill that you can learn. And you've got to let that mess kind of go viral within yourself, because in doing so, you experience an emotion that you then see your audience experience, and then that reflects back on you, and that allows you to both journey together to a culminating point of action. Like, this is how the greatest speeches in history are given. And the solution is to not rely on or try to compete with AI's data recall. Like, embrace your flawed memory. It's okay. And start leveraging your unique power of emotion and experience. And there's 2 ways to cultivate this. So the first is a technique that we teach called the emotional wheel. This is what it looks like. And this is the process of developing your emotional vocabulary. And when you develop your emotional vocabulary, you can identify these emotions, you can describe other people's emotions, and this gives a lot more color to what you say. A lot more color than the kind of sanitized, stale way of speaking that comes from people who use ChatGPT a bit too much. You can download this graph below. The second thing is to reference your life in real conversation. Practice drawing a line of conversation from the topic to your personal experience. You can do this by saying something like, that reminds me of a time when I ... Or this is very similar to when I used to ... And what this builds is a very active living bank of experience that is fresh in your mind that you can draw upon. And you can tell when people have developed this, like, they're really good storytellers. They rarely speak in facts and figures, and they weave a lot of themselves into their ideas. And all of this is a step towards reaching that mature stage of authenticity. What I want you to take away from everything that we've talked about today, and the reason why I'm making this video, is because human connection, like conversation, is so much more than getting the right words. Like, real articulacy Real conversation is micro expressions, it's energy shifts, it's like hesitation in the voice. Elite speakers know how to feel the room, sense doubt, adjust their strategy in real time. And they can tap into emotions in real life to connect on a human level. And so that's why I believe that world leaders, executives, high-profile people are always going to fly 1,000 miles to meet in a room while everyone else is drowning in a flood of artificialness, trying to patch together all the imperfect parts of themselves. You are going to be the person who can stand up and deliver something that no algorithm can replicate, because you draw from your real experience. You deliver things with authentic conviction. You can identify emotion, and that's something that's trained because you've practiced that. And this is something that we help people do better than anyone else. If you're an entrepreneur, a business professional, a coach, and want to learn how to describe your ideas with brilliance, then you can schedule a call below. I would encourage the rest of you to just use the techniques that we've discussed in this video, the exercises, practice critical thinking, keep an active mind, and tap into your authentic voice so that you become better using AI and irreplaceable in a world full of replaceable people. That's how you win. Hope this helps.